Imagine a faceless crowd with no names, no leaders, and no single identity, bound only by one symbol, the smiling Guy Fawkes mask. This is the story of Anonymous, the mysterious hacker collective that grew from chaotic internet message boards into a digital movement feared by governments, corporations, and law enforcement worldwide. Their journey began in the early 2000s, when the internet was still a wild frontier. It wasn't the polished world of social media we know today, but a messy landscape of forums, chat rooms, and anonymous boards where users could reinvent themselves. One such place was 4chan, a website that allowed anyone to post without registering or using a username. On 4chan, everyone was simply labeled anonymous. It was here that a culture of trolling, pranks, and online raids flourished. In those early days, Anonymous was not a group, but a collective identity, a swarm of strangers united by anonymity. They would launch digital pranks for humor, irony, and chaos. Yet from this digital playground, something much bigger would emerge. The turning point came in 2008 with an unlikely target, the Church of Scientology. When Scientology tried to suppress a leaked video of actor Tom Cruise praising their religion, the internet erupted. To Anonymous, this was censorship, and for the first time, the group coordinated an organized campaign for a cause rather than just a prank. They called it Project Chanology. Anonymous flooded Scientology websites with traffic, clogged fax machines with endless black pages, and even took to the street. On February 10th, 2008, thousands of people wearing Guy Fawkes masks gathered outside Scientology centers across the globe. For the first time, the faceless crowd had a face. The mask, inspired by the film V for Vendetta, became their symbol. It represented resistance, rebellion, and the power of anonymity. Anyone could wear it and become anonymous, whether a teenager in London, a programmer in New York, or an office worker in Sydney. Membership required no approval. The movement had no leaders, no hierarchy. This open-door philosophy gave Anonymous a strength that traditional organizations could never match. It also created a nightmare for law enforcement. How do you fight a group with no headquarters, no official members, and no clear agenda? Anonymous had proven that it was more than a joke. It was an idea. And how do you arrest an idea? In 2010, Anonymous launched Operation Payback, one of its most famous campaigns. It began as retaliation against anti-piracy organizations that tried to shut down file-sharing websites. Anonymous responded with DDoS attacks, overwhelming servers until websites collapsed. But the campaign soon expanded when companies like Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal blocked donations to WikiLeaks. After it published secret government documents, Anonymous struck again, taking down corporate websites and making global headlines. To supporters, these were digital sit-ins, protests against censorship and corporate power. To governments, they were criminal attacks that threatened security and order. The world was divided. Were these masked hackers digital Robin Hoods or dangerous cybercriminals? The following year, Anonymous took its fight to an even larger stage during the Arab Spring uprisings of 2011. When governments in Tunisia and Egypt tried to silence protesters by shutting down the internet, Anonymous stepped in. They attacked government websites, exposed censorship, and shared tools activists could use to bypass blocks. For many in the Middle East, Anonymous was more than a hacker group. It was a lifeline, a symbol of global solidarity. Anonymous had evolved from pranksters to digital activists, shaping the course of political revolutions thousands of miles away. From there, operations multiplied. They targeted Sony after lawsuits against hackers, the US Department of Justice, Interpol, and even private security firms. Each campaign had a catchy name, its own message, and its own flavor. Anonymous had become unpredictable, hitting corporations one week and governments the next. But at the heart of it all was the same theme: opposition to censorship, corruption, and abuse of power. As the movement expanded, so did the power of the mask. It appeared not just online, but in real-world protests, from Occupy Wall Street in New York to demonstrations in Europe and Latin America. The mask became an icon of rebellion, worn by activists who had never written a single line of code. Anonymous had transcended hacking to become a global movement. By the early 2000s, Anonymous had captured the imagination of the media. Documentaries, films, and news reports painted them as either modern-day revolutionaries or reckless criminals. Supporters saw them as a necessary force, holding power accountable. Critics argued they were chaotic, unaccountable, and dangerous. But perhaps that was Anonymous's greatest mystery. They were everything and nothing at once. A movement that anyone could join, but no one could fully control. Of course, governments did not stand idle. The FBI, Scotland Yard, and cybercrime units worldwide launched major investigations. 2011 and 2012, several members linked to subgroups like LulzSec and AntiSec were arrested. Some even turned informants, betraying others to authorities. These arrests were heavily publicized, designed to send a message that anonymity had limits. Trust within the movement began to crumble. Fear and paranoia spread, and participation declined. Media coverage shifted from sensational headlines to skepticism. Stories asked whether Anonymous was dead, a fading relic of early internet culture. Operations still occurred, but few matched the scale of earlier campaigns. Yet, even as their activity waned, the legend of Anonymous grew. Myths spread of hackers capable of toppling entire government, infiltrating secret databases, or controlling satellite. Most of these stories were exaggerated, but they kept the mystique alive. Anonymous was no longer just a hacker group. It was a cultural symbol. The Guy Fawkes mask had become a universal sign of protest, used by people with no connection to the original collective. Anonymous had become an idea anyone could invoke, whether or not they had any real technical power. So what is the legacy of Anonymous? At its core, it lies in how they reshaped the world's understanding of digital power. They proved that ordinary people, united only by an internet connection, could challenge some of the most powerful institutions on Earth. They showed that the internet was not just entertainment, it was a battlefield, a tool for resistance, and a weapon of change. Their campaigns influenced political movements, inspired new generations of activists, and forced governments and corporations to rethink cybersecurity and censorship. Although Anonymous never maintained a permanent structure, their unpredictable presence remains. Every few years, in times of global crisis, the mask reappears. Sometimes it's to support protests, sometimes it's to raise awareness, and sometimes it's simply a reminder that the faceless crowd is still watching. That unpredictability is part of their strength. Anonymous may never again dominate headlines as they once did, but the spirit of the movement endures. Because Anonymous was never about a single group of hackers, it was about an idea that in a connected world, information is power, and anonymity can be a weapon. And so, the faceless crowd continued, not as one organization, but as a symbol, a myth, a warning. Their story is a reminder that even in the digital age, power does not belong only to governments and corporations. It can also belong to ordinary people, hidden behind masks, united by nothing more than an internet connection and a belief in freedom. Whether you see them as heroes or criminals, Anonymous has left an indelible mark on history. And perhaps that is their greatest achievement. Not the attacks, not the protests, not the myths, but the fact that even today we still ask the same question: who are Anonymous? The answer is both simple and terrifying. They are anyone, they are everyone, and perhaps they are forever.